I'm live. All right, that's what the screen of my laptop says every time I go live. So, first things first. Hope my sound is okay. Um, Not robotic and forcing a restart because I'm technically inept. That's my phone notifying me that I'm live. Yay. Yeah. So on screen right now we have the Sandman I started last week. And I finished it over the course of this week. I did the last polish, not the last polishes, but the last polishes before I thought it was done. I think it was yesterday. Then immediately after I posted it on my Patreon, I went, "Oh, there's a few little more touches I wanted to do." So I went back in. If you're a Patreon supporter, you've seen this already. But I've gone back in. I realized I wanted to get some of that light off the highlights off his pants and push back the highlights on his vest here, because as one of my friends said, he looks a little chunky there. So I figured, breaking up those black shapes would reduce him somewhat. The idea is he's wearing like I guess Edwardian type velvet three-piece suit, which I thought would be really, really fancy. So he'd still have his jewel, even though I didn't draw it. I figured that'd be in his pocket, although I didn't draw a chain. Maybe I should go back in and draw a little pocket watch chain there just to imply it. That'd be an easy fix. But as you can see, we'll move it in close here. See if there's detail there. You can see I've actually used some of my rubber stamps to push back some of the white up there to make the white from his dust falling out of the palm of his hand look even more intense. So I'm pretty happy with it. So this is now two pieces. Where's that death piece? I'm going to put somewhere. Buried under a bunch of Conan stuff. Have to flip here. God, there's so much Conan stuff here. Where's it over here? No, that's more Conan stuff. Here it is. Here we go. All right. So this all started because I did that death based on Taffy the Darling's cosplay a couple weeks back. It just made me want me to draw as many endless as I could in a brief period of time. And also after I first showed this online, I went back. I corrected the spelling on the Petite Mort because I had the E's on the wrong one. And also added some texture into her boots because I wanted a little bit of rubber stamp in there. I thought it'd be nice to actually get some highlights across there. So yeah, so Sandman's done, or mostly done, unless I put like a watch chain for his ruby in there, which the more I talk about, the more I think I'm going to do that. But tonight, oh, here we go. Anson, hello. I'm really grateful the sound's good. I have no idea what makes that go off, but it's always that sound check. I wish there was a way I could sound check before going live. There probably is. I just don't know it. And tonight we're doing Desire. Now, I'm like swamped with work, but I made some time to read what I thought were some of the highlights of the Sandman comics that had Desire in it. And I think of all the endless, Desire is the hardest to get across unless you're essentially aping a Patrick Nagel illustration or literally just drawing somewhat androgynous. So what I decided to do is both with the implied sense here. You can see what I did here with the type. I figured I got to put type on all of them now because the first you have type. So I just did this in Photoshop quickly because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get that perspective right in the amount of time I had today. So got a very female looking Desire, and over here they look somewhat more masculine. The implication is that they're mirror reflections of the other, but is looking at basically I did one drawing that I kind of masculinized it a bit. Is that a good term to use for someone who's essentially androgynous, a they? And still try and get a sense of that early haircut when Desire first showed up. Yeah, and so I figured like just a mirror image implying that with the mirror that they're the same in reflection, that they're in a constant change state of each other. Hopefully that comes across. But this is the best idea I could come up with this week. So I'm going to be inking both of them, of course. I'm I'm not sure if I might do because I've now used some rubber stamps in both. So I might do is just add like a slight fade of the rubber stamp coming from the top and the bottom, just to make the figure come forward. Um, uh, I was at one point I was going to put the red coat, the red jacket, and just have it open. Um, and so they would be wearing a red suit like they've done in the comics a few times. And then have the suspenders under the coat with no shirt, and then just fire it open. But then it made both upper bodies so bulky, so almost David Byrne from Talking Heads, that I just thought that would bury it. So I thought by just putting the weird retro naval high pants, like period pants, I guess 40 style pants, and suspenders would show the torso more. So, and it's also, I guess, apart from the pubic hair, I get to censor it a bit because I'm covering the nipples, which is still verboten for women. I had to take down 10 pieces on Instagram this week, despite having my little pentagrams on them. It's it's getting ridiculous. It's the machine. They're supposed to be refining the machinery to only capture stuff that's supposed to be transgressive to their community guidelines. And I'm seeing people who post essentially censored work getting dinged again and again and again. And if I won $1 billion, I would start up an Instagram alternative, um, just to avoid the censorship. Because the idea would be I wouldn't want to like flip it for profit or anything. Anyways, to some chat. Ha, I appreciate that. Why did I think the Oscars were going to be airing midweek this week? Um, I'm probably not as funny as whoever they got hosting, but I'm probably also less pain inducing. Yeah, so this is I loved the portrayal of Desire in the Sandman TV show. I thought they were wonderful because I believe they're either trans or non-binary as well. So I think they is the proper pronoun for the actor in the series. But I kind of like the old I'm not going to do a Patrick Nagel riff on my line work here because I'm just too scritchy scratchy. But so this is where I'm going with it. I just heavied up very subtle things. Hands are bigger on the male indicate. Oh God, this is hopefully I'm not like screwing up my language here, but the male-ish, more male Desire, larger hands, slightly, very subtly more musculature, less breasts, heavier jaw, the traditional things you would see. But I tried to keep them as identical as possible to really get across it's the same person or same being. Oscar Wilde would be kind of awesome. Oppenheimer. That's true. It looks like, I mean, I'd like Barbie to win just because everyone would lose their minds over a movie like Barbie winning the Oscars. I watched Oppenheimer. I recognize how good a film it is, but deep down, all things considered, I like pretty much everything Nolan does. I thought Tenet was a little overblown. He's not he's a good director. He's not a great director. He's a better storyteller than he is a director. So many times he's shooting a shot, and I'm looking at it and go, why did he set up the shot that way? That doesn't help anything. Plus, he buries all his. I mean, you're there to hear the story and watch it, and then when he buries the sound, it's like I have no idea what's going on in this scene. The other movie I think I'd like to see. I just love Paul Giamatti, and I thought the movie was just excellent. I'd like to see The Holdovers. That would be basically in terms of upset. I'd like to see either Barbie or The Holdovers beat Oppenheimer for Best Picture. Chat. Oh, there's live chat. Here we go. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you being here, Frankie. Yeah, male presenting, female presenting. Even though from rereading the comics, they change almost from panel to panel. The idea that they're so gender fluid. I mean, they're almost like gender liquid in physicality. Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is he puts together movies I really enjoy watching. Um, but going back to Robin Williams, he's really, really good at letting the actors do their work. I like that about him. Even though he let Brana, eat too much scenery in Tenet. Um, and the sense of story structure is good, but his actual directing skills, I find sometimes he sets things up and I have no idea what the hell he's doing. I mean, like, of the younger directors we have, I think Villeneuve. Now I'm a big Villeneuve fanboy. I think Villeneuve is far better director than Nolan. Um, yeah, Poor Things. I started watching, realizing it was too intense for me to watch it my usual I'm drawing while I'm watching way. So I put it aside to watch it when I got time just for it. There we go. Yes, he does. Nolan is very, very. He's like, yeah. Nolan will, like in Oppenheimer. There's a scene where a whole bunch of people all of a sudden enter in a room and there's a baby in it, and he clusters the shot so poorly that you don't get to see what's doing. And I was thinking about, there was a similar scene in Killers of the Flower Moon, and Scorsese can direct in his sleep. He's so good. And he did. I think I should go back and watch. It's been a while since I watched Killers, but I remember seeing another scene with a baby in it with almost the same amount of people, if I remember correctly, and it's just so much clearer and well framed. It's like Nolan frames everything for TV, even though he's so big into IMAX. And every other director working is like, I want to frame this the best possible way, regardless of how it's presented. Insomnia. Yeah, I think I started talking about, yeah, the Robin Williams Al Pacino movie. I don't know what happened between Insomnia and his more recent work, or his work since. It just seems he doesn't. Maybe because that was such a small film, if you know what I mean, where it was like very much, since after Memento is a movie that it was just as grounded with people. Every movie he's doing now is like massive epics, and it feels like the more epic he does, the more he feels he has to avoid the basic rules. Dennis V is the spice. I know. Hearing that Messiah is almost a given is such a happy thing. But I'm also really happy he's going to take some time before go and do some other movies. All right. I think I should probably. Oh my gosh, we're already 15 minutes in. All I've done is talk about movies and drawing. Uh, I'd like to see Nolan. That little soundbite that came out recently, where he said, when you're able to marshal the resources, you're obligated to use them. Oh, don't ever stop. I'll catch up in the right. I want everyone to enjoy their time. So talk away. I'll once I get going, I'll keep going. But I'm gonna start up here on the heads though. And I understand what you're saying, because he's saying he really, really wants to make a horror film, and I think, given a smaller budget and a tighter script, because I mean, I think a lot of his scripts are kind of. Felt Oppenheimer was a little flabby as a script. I bet he'd do a really good horror film, given the focus of Insomnia. If he returns to like that Insomnia level character focus and work, I'd love to see him do that. I should also wear my glasses here. My gosh. Oh, that's much better. All right, I'm starting with the 0-1. You know what? I should start with my 0-0-5. There it is, 0-0-5. Just because I start with the finest line possible allows me to screw up as I start. Even though I've been inking already today, my car battery died. I was going to run some errands before the stream, and my car wouldn't turn over. So that necessitated me scrambling for someone to give my car a boost. Live in an apartment building, so and none of my neighbors. I don't know what apartment my next parking lot slot door neighbor resides in. So it'd be weird knocking on the door. Do you have jumper cables, and can you move your car over here? Not a good thing. So I just called this local service up here. Showed up in around half an hour, and now this is an aside thing. They made a big deal about Desire having these golden eyes, and say gold like a tiger's, but pretty much everyone gave them regular eyes, but just yellow. I'm doing a black and white piece. I think I'm going to imply they're more like cat eyes, just for this. But yeah, so I had to get my car boosted. Then I ran my errands anyway, and the guy boosting my car says, "You know what? And I get this because I work from home, so I don't drive as much as I highway drive. I just do little trips like to the gym and everything." And he says, "Yeah, you got at least a half an hour in the highway to just recharge your battery." And it's like, oh god. So the errands I ran, I ended up running like 40 minutes away from where I live, just to put more time in my car. So I'm racing back, going, I gotta finish penciling that Desire piece. And so I got it to set together just before, printed out just before I started, actually. And that's why I think it was like 3 or 4 minutes late. I don't know that Oppenheimer was horrible. I wouldn't say horrible. I would immediately rush to saying overrated. I think Nolan can get a performance out of actors like no one. And I think that's basically giving them the space to do it. I thought Cillian Murphy was great. I thought Robert Downey Jr. was great. I just don't think it was as good a movie as a lot of my friends are insisting it is. I think we can agree he's done better. Oof. Female cat eyes, goat eyes. Really? Is that in the comic books, or is that just a smart idea from you, Anzan? I stopped reading. I made the mistake of getting copies of Nolan's Batman scripts, the shooting scripts for his Batman films, and yeah, that was the last time I made an effort to read his scripts. The weird way that David Goyer got in there, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of David Goyer at all. I think he's a mediocre writer. He loves the same genre stuff I do, which unfortunately means because he's got a rep, he gets a crack at it more often than I think more talented, lesser known people. I think of the top tier movies, because I haven't seen all the Poor Things, I'm saving it till I got more mental space for it. I don't think it holds a candle to either Barbie or Holdovers. It's just visually big, which the Oscar seems to love. I thought Dunkirk was significantly better. It's almost like he's getting worse as he goes. I like Dunkirk. I loved so many of the parts in it. I felt Tenet was kind of a disaster. He did some really. It's a hard thing. I have a difficult time dismissing something as horrible when it's technically more than competent, when it's like really technically well done. And all the films are very technically well done. It's just that so many times he gets in his own way in the worst possible way. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. How can I forget about American Fiction? Oh my God, that was so good. It just comes. It's like if you're not of a mind for it. It used to be years ago. I would actually track how good a movie I thought it was as it came out, and I'd keep like in my old city. I had a dry erase board, and I'd write the movies I saw as I saw them, and then I'd move them up and down rankings because I occasionally would bet in Oscar parties. I stopped doing that years ago, but yeah, American Fiction was so good. Yeah, I would American Fiction and Horror Lover best screenplay. I okay, as a lead up to Dune 2 coming out, which I'm going to be seeing again probably next weekend. I rewatched everything, just his English stuff. Sadly, despite being Canadian, I still need the subtitles for his French films. And weirdly enough, I pick up enough French just from watching it, but I'm so rusty that it just goes away without constant use. I should probably just put on a French channel while I'm in the studio for a few months. But I think Villeneuve, I'm happy he's Canadian, so I get to brag about that, even though it has nothing really to do with me. It's just that little bit of nationalism, pride going off there. But I watched Arrival, Sicario, Blade Runner, of course. I'm trying to think of the one with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought the Guild and the screenwriters had their own awards. Prisoners, yes. Oh God, Prisoners is so intense. Rewatching Prisoners almost killed me. It was just watch that interrogation scene with Paul Dano. When you know what's happening, it's actually harder to watch. It is such an intense movie. Oh my God. And again, Villeneuve getting, I think that's a career best performance for Hugh Jackman. He's gotten two amazing performances out of Gyllenhaal. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, and hearing he's doing some of the other supposedly unfilmable science fiction. He's working on Rendezvous with Rama, which I don't know if you've read it. It's kind of old classic SF. It's just one of those like just it messes with your head in the best possible way, and he's gonna make a movie out of that, and I'm so excited for that. Give a little extra weight to this line coming into the chin. Allow it to pop and release as they come back. Yeah, I guess just inadvertently, I'm thinking of Patrick Nagel as I'm. Is that still in the area? Thinking of Patrick Nagel while I'm inking this, and I'm going. The face has got to be cleaner. The face line's got to be cleaner. Slight cheekbone. This should be Eon board. Unfortunately, it's just a piece of Strathmore 400. I only realized it after I picked it up out of printing out in light blue, and was so close to starting that I had put a stack of paper in there and there's a sheet of Strathmore on top. But you know, high-end Strathmore is all right. It's not as good as the Eon stuff. I'm a big Eon paper fanboy. I bought the last of their vellum stock. God, I watched Sicario, so good. And the realization, and this is one thing, like if you gave Nolan Sicario, there'd be some of the same bravura shots that Villeneuve gave us. But every time Villeneuve does one of these amazingly planned, scaled out shots, it's for the storytelling. Whereas Nolan so often does the cool shot because it's cool. I think Nolan follows Ridley Scott's model of directing a little too much. Not to beg on Ridley Scott, but Ridley Scott is also guilty of putting a cool shot against ahead of the storytelling shot, to my mind, anyway. Don't want to start a fight. Oh, wonderful! He really is. You know what it is? He's the big movie equivalent of Clive Barker. I had this weird thought. Not during watching Oppenheimer, but I was watching. I think it was when I was watching Tenet again to make sure I understood what I was seeing. Because that movie, I made the mistake of seeing it in the drive-in the first time, and my windows were fogging up like crazy during the final fight scene. So it's going to be black. So I can be a little fuzzy with that line. Black suspenders. So it's whereas like Clive Barker is the embodiment of someone who heard the literary advice of kill your darlings and said, fuck that. I'm gonna fill my book with darlings, and my book's gonna be nothing but darlings. And there's something kind of exhilarating about that first time you encounter someone who's just, I mean, you have to be good to get away with making as many bad choices as Nolan does. Does that make sense? That's my take on it. I could absolutely be wrong because it's just personal opinion. And it's been years since I've done any TV or film work. But it's like, as much as I loved Books of Blood and Damnation Game and his other earlier books, there's something about mid to current Barker where he's so good with the wordplay. He lets the wordplay get in the way of like letting the story get told. Don't know why I'm using my finest pen to fill in the black. Might leave it as a texture though. Probably not. I don't want a little clip there. They were a master. I met them only once. It wasn't even for very long. They were incredibly lovely. So sweet. Didn't end up talking about art. They didn't seem to be in the mood. Kaluta was there, Elaine Lee. Someone else was there too. I can't remember. It was something related to New York Comic Con, but Jeffrey wasn't there. It was some dinner after. Yeah. It's I got way too much inside information about Clive about 15 years ago. You know, it's heartbreaking. I'm trying to remember if I was like told not to share it or not. Probably better not to. The one wonderful thing about a writer who's done great work and doesn't necessarily produce great work currently is you can't take those other books away from them. Great and Secret Show. Again, the Books of Blood. All those incredible short stories. Damnation Game. Damnation Game, I think, is still one of my favorites. Those books are just going to withstand. It doesn't matter if Scarlet Gospels just didn't have that weight and power of what young Clive was able to bring to the game. I don't think it ever will matter. Should I give Colored Nails? I might do that at the end. I do want to. I think the thing above everything else is there's a story. Neil Gaiman told it in public, so I think I can share it because I've heard it from other people too. Is when Clive went to Hollywood, he looked at it as a challenge on how to be successful in Hollywood, not to be a screenwriter who does Hollywood stuff. And I think it was Good Omens was getting fucked about by multiple studios. And Clive's response and advice to Neil Gaiman was, don't worry, that's just how the game's played. So you just got to play it. And if I remember correctly, Neil framed his response was, well, I didn't start writing to play games in someone else's field. I'm probably paraphrasing because, Neil was said a lot clearer and cooler than I just did. I actually had a pair of pants like this. They didn't go up as high, but they had like that complicated fly. So I'm trying to remember how it folds over. Talking about the zipper just killed the conversation, didn't it? So what movies are you most looking forward to this year? I mean, we got the Oscars recognizing what happened last year, but we had Dune 2 come out, and I'm still in complete infatuation with that movie. I just feel that he took the visual language he used to get across everything in the first part, and then he just pushed it. I mean, so the audience coming in, for the most part, knew what was coming. I'm going to put another clip down there. I think there's 2 clips in suspenders mainly. Here we go. Dune Part 2. My God. Yeah, I got to see it again. I got my bucket. Did I show off my bucket last week? I think I did. I think I'd seen it before last week's session. I'm very excited to get my bucket that I'll never do the root thing with it. Furiosa. Oh my God. He is possibly, I don't know how he's managed to do so many amazing movies in so many different genres and always do it incredibly watchable. But George Miller is easily one of the best directors the industry's ever had. And I keep seeing him dismissed as a genre filmmaker, which feels like a deep insult to filmmaking in general. Considering I think most great films are genre in some way. Some very subtle ribs. Get a little more weight under that breast there. I didn't want to make desires. Every time someone draws their breasts, they're drawing almost like vestigial breasts. And I felt to do the contrast more, I just, a little poofier. Is that term? A little fleshier. There we go. Do some stipple here. I might go back on white paint. You can break that up a little bit more. Also going to go back in and heavy up some of these lines later. Lighten it up on the other side there. Yeah, that was. I mean, if you have Tilda Swinton in it, I'm going to watch it. And it was some of the best acting that Idris has been able to do for a while. Seemed like Idris is going through a bit of a Gerard Butler phase in terms of like the roles he was choosing to play, where he was choosing easy work that paid well, which considering how terrible Hollywood is to all creatives, I can understand. Take that paycheck when you can. But 3,000 Years of Longing, so good. God, I love that movie. Honestly, it would be really interesting if they swapped roles. If Tilda played the genie or Jinn, and Idris played the bookish, isolated person, it would have given him something a lot more interesting to chew into. Because I mean, Tilda is just so good in everything she does. I just would have liked to have seen her play a Jinn, I think. Maybe I'm just an easy mark for short-haired, powerful women. Like Annie Lennox was a huge '80s crush for me. I think about Tilda playing the angel in Constantine. I mean, she made the movie for me. Especially that scene after, spoilers, after she gets her wings ripped off. The way she's just something so incredibly sensual and creepy about her at the same time. Amazing. Yeah, I'm going to go back in here with some. I'm doing everything with a 005, so I'm not getting any line weight at all. So I'm going to have to re-ink a bunch of these lines, but I want to keep moving forward. Tilda's face. Oh my God. The thing is, though, it's like I saw him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I had this thought, I said, this guy's going to go places. And I saw him in Elvis, and I honestly, I hated Elvis as a movie. I thought he was really good in it. I thought Tom Hanks was wasted in that movie. He was almost like he was doing an SNL skit for 2 hours. I have no interest in that Flyboy TV series he's doing. I just can't see. Right now, I'm not in the mood for more American war propaganda, which that feels like. But weirdly enough, I knew he was going to be good as Fade. I just knew it. The intensity he had for those moments. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I just knew he'd bring something to Fade that was good. And I honestly think a lot of people aren't giving Dave Bautista the praise he deserves for his absolutely terrified and terrifying portrayal of Raban. Every scene he's in, he's portraying it like someone who doesn't fully understand what is going to be asked of him, and he's terrified of what's going to be asked from him, and he lashes out when it looks like someone's going to fail to allow him to do what he's required to do because the stakes for his life are so high. And I was talking to a friend of mine who liked Dune too, but he said no, he's just playing a big dummy. I went, no, the guy who played Raban in the first Dune movie played him as a big, creepy, crawly, evil, smirky dummy. Bautista played someone who did not have the mental capacity to be doing what he was asked to do. So he replaced everything he was doing out of some form of fear. And he was able to get that from just the way he was holding his mouth through the whole movie. It is worth watching, because the weird thing is I haven't heard any word of mouth over it yet, which is usually what gets me to. There's certain things like I watched all of The Gentleman because I like the movie quite a bit, and it's uneven, and it's a Guy Ritchie joint, so there's going to be just kind of like some stupid guy shit pilfering through it. But it had enough charm for me to really get into it. It's not great, but it's a good show. It's worth the time. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that too. Yeah, I think Batista's everything that The Rock hoped to be as an actor. Batista, what's amazing is when you see him talk about acting and the level of seriousness he brings to the craft he's working with here. I have nothing but utmost respect for him. I also love that he really is enjoying doing the genre work. I think the first time he impressed the hell out of me was in Bushwick. I think that's the name of it, with Southerners invading New York, New Jersey. Bushwick's in New Jersey or New York? Well, they're invading Bushwick. Oh yeah, he was so good. And did you see the little short film that Villeneuve did before showing his pre Blade Runner 2049 era when he was playing the same character but younger? He's a criminally underrated actor. He was the best part of Knock at the Cabin, I think it's called. The apocalypse movie with the gay couple and their kid that a bunch of religious crazy people show up and say, you're going to have to sacrifice your kid or the world's going to end. He was so good in that, playing this reluctant, for all intents and purposes, religious fundamentalist who may be right. Line open. He's just so good. At some point, someone's going to give him a TV role. Hopefully, something on the level of what like give him a Tony Soprano, like a dangerous character with depth, and he's going to blow everyone the fuck away. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Because I mean, he was the only watchable part of that Army of the Dead movie. Well, I want to call it City of the Dead because it's a place in the city. I think it was called Army of the Dead, which was not a good name for a movie. It didn't have an army in it. So in other words, I'm a Batista. Yeah, he's the difference between him and the other wrestler actors. Like you look at like The Rock And I'm trying to think of the guy who played in the HBO series. He's really he's great in comedies. Blanking on you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Batista, I'm absolutely convinced of it. I bet we could probably look it up and confirm it. I think he's been studying acting to get better at character work. And I think The Rock has been approaching movie from an experience position. It's like, okay, this is what the director tells me to do. I can do what the director tells me to do better. And I can remember my lines better. I've never seen The Rock give a nuanced performance. He's always given like a very, this is the superficial character I'm portraying. And the same of, damn it. It's the guy who played John Cena. Yeah, absolutely. John Cena's got perfect comedic timing. He's really, really good. He's possibly one of the better comedic actors out there. But he doesn't bring anything other than that surface charm and ability to deliver that sense of comedy, which is hard. At no point am I gonna denigrate what comedians do, because I mean, dying's easy, comedy's hard. But none of those wrestler actors are doing what Batista's. Batista's trying to become an actor in a serious way, and he's getting better. Even when he's given essential and yet another superficial character, anyone else would do it as a one-note character in Glass Onion, he was able to bring that level of desperation to his influencer character. How do those line weights look? So yeah, I did actually draw Batista from after seeing Dune 1. I thought his role was so good. I thought just the way I did a drawing of his face, just because I thought what he was doing with his face was almost perfect. And the way he was holding there's a way he doesn't do it in any other movies. He didn't do it in Guardians, didn't do anything else. He was holding his jaw in this kind of like, it must be like an actor mannerism that he got taught. He was holding his mouth in almost like his childlike way, like mouth breathing, but not from looking stupid, but from always on the verge of being out of breath, if that makes sense. That's what it appeared to me. Like he was always overwhelmed by what was going on. I might want to do pinstripes on these pants, because it's already such a long figure. Like doing the lines coming down, or even herringbone, although that would take forever. I think actually, so the leg comes down here. You know what? That back line here I drew is too far back. So back crease cuts down. It's going to hit the bottom of the calf here. Okay, so this is going to come down there. Hit the calf, coming towards the front. And this is going to dive into the cuff. I'll do a heavier line to get that across. This will actually come down further than I originally drew too. Hope you don't mind me talking to myself or mumbling to myself as I sort this out. I'm also looking, this is a weird thing. I posted about it on Facebook the other day. I heard about the new Alien series or movie coming on Hulu. They're doing what they did with Prey. They're doing a slightly smaller budget, made for streaming movie of Alien, and and this isn't the Noah Hawley one. It's another director who does mostly horror fiction, and apparently it's opening in a few months. So I thought there would be a trailer, and all I was able to find were fan made trailers that were recycling other material, and I think some advanced leaks from the actual series. So there's no official trailer yet, but there's all these fake trailers, and the quality goes from, oh, that looks like a mediocre studio trailer, to like, oh my god, that's a terrible trailer. And apparently they're allowed to monetize this garbage. So if you can make a fake trailer, put it on your channel, you can monetize that. I just somehow assumed that type of stuff would automatically be demonetized if it's fake, and it doesn't say it's fake. And I get, as soon as you say it's a fan made trailer, half the viewers would go away. I didn't. I don't think I thought this shoe through full enough. So I'll take on there. So the inner part will let it come down through there. Yeah, so I think they got the toe too far to the outside. That's a little bit better. There we go, like that. The sock comes down there. The upper is going to go here. And I'm going to give it a little belt around there. I'm going to drop from where I originally drew it. Now, if I end up going with the darker pattern in the pants, I'm going to go darker with the shoes, and I might actually do a very subtle. That might be where I put the stamp for this. Put the stamps in a little bit of sock you see here. There's a part of me I'd love to do a comic book with jazz age costuming, the way Howard Chaykin does, like in Times Square and everything. I just love that kind of swoop, those baggy pants with the nice line of action running through them. They're almost gestural as soon as they're put on. So I got that there. So the belt's gonna run there. Wow, so that's without any rendering. This is oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, there's the I think it's Noah Hawley is going to be doing what he calls a cassette punk version of his Alien. He's going to ignore the last two Ridley Scott movies, which is honestly a good thing. But he's also going to do, he says, well, they showed the future and the technology looked like that in the first two movies. I'm going to make, I think he's doing a TV series, an actual series. He's going to return to that level of technology for his Alien stuff. I gotta say, ever since I started drawing my witches, I have gotten so many questions about pubic hair. It's such a weird thing. It's like, I'm lining up for an interview, talking about something else, and say, "Oh, hey, you're witches." I go, "Yeah," and then about half the time, someone's saying, "So it's like, asking me about drawing pubic hair, how much I like pubic hair, am I a big fan?" It's like, it's such a weird thing, and almost all of the questions are off camera because I don't think the interviewer wants to go on record, with their enthusiasm or lack thereof for pubic hair. It's I just think it's funny. You never know what your career is going to do. Honestly, oh yeah, Dune Prophecy. Yes, very excited about that. I didn't mind Aliens. I liked that it was a different genre. You had um, practically a murder mystery with Alien. It was a haunted house movie in many ways as well, but you had that kind of like sedated getting killed off. I think the term's 10 little Indians because I think there's an Agatha Christie novel like that where people were getting killed off slowly. And Aliens was very much a war movie. Um, I really feel that Alien 3 dropped the ball largely in part by not picking a specific genre to mash Alien with. Everything I heard is that the producers really didn't want to do another Alien movie. They wanted to do other stuff. And they did so just essentially under force. I think there's a video series on YouTube about how disastrous so many of the forced attempts were, and how when they finally did Alien 3 and got Fincher, they had like a Frankenstein script where if they piled up all the writers, it would have been like 15 writers deep. I think I'm going with dark shoes here. It just feels like these should be dark, so the pants are going to be dark too. I have to think about whether I'm going to draw a pattern into this or I'm just going to render them as if they got a nice texture. I could just do that with hatching and everything, which would also be nice. And I'll add some weight with all the white and everything. If I just do that and then maybe do like a fade from dark to light behind the upper body to make that pop, and then have dark pants coming on both sides. I think that'd make a nice shape. So I don't have everything figured out when I start these strings, if that was not clear by now. Yeah, I agree with you, Frankie. Noah Hawley, I mean, he does something. I'm going to watch it. I'm trying to think if there's anything he's done that's disappointed me, and I can't think of anything I watched that didn't really hit me. There's a pair of filmmakers. Matthew Vaughn's one of them, and there's another British filmmaker, and I keep on confusing them. Because I was really disappointed in Baby Driver and the one with Anna Taylor-Joy as a prostitute getting murdered and haunting another young blonde British actress. I keep on thinking they're the same director because I was disappointed with both of them. Edgar Wright, yeah, Edgar Wright does. Yeah, Last Night in Soho. Yeah, I wanted to like that movie so much. I felt it telegraphed everything in the movie in a way that just did a disservice to the plot and the character work from the actors. There wasn't anything in the movie that I found that surprised me. So, and that's a director whose earlier work I loved. Go a little darker in this gem here. Give it a little bit of shadow edge. I'm trying to think if there's any other directors who just did amazing work and then just didn't seem to get it back together again after. That's a negative. I don't want to think about that. That's bad. Yeah, I'm going to go dark with the pants. I'm not sure how I'm going to treat them yet, so I'm going to start inking the more masculine showing desire here. And that's going to be very much a subtlety in the lines. He does. I got. I was going to quit Twitter right after my Zoop campaign for my witch book because I was just so sick and tired of everything Musk was doing, and it was just getting worse. And the only reason I was staying is because there was a part of me that kind of wanted to see just how it was going to go down in flames. I've since learned that this is from someone. You work in any industry, entertainment industry long enough, you start making friends with people in adjacent industries. So I know some people who were working at Twitter from before. And the person I know is absolutely convinced that Musk is only maintaining Twitter because it's losing money faster now than ever before. He's only maintaining Twitter now through the next presidential election. So he might shutter it as early as December. If and I hope Biden wins. If it's a big Biden win that Trump can't even get the dumbest of the dumb to believe that it was stolen, I think we're going to see Twitter shut down within a month or two of the end of the election. If it's close, I think it'll stay open a little bit longer as he does his usual shenanigans. Because I've had a number of friends who told me that the ultimate reason Trump was able to post his bond was that Musk gave him the money or connected him with the person to give him the money. What a piece of shit that guy is. Yeah, so that's why I'm off Twitter. But the reason I was off Twitter is someone made a joke. There was one of these right wingers who was talking about how poor people just have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. He said something really, really grotesque. And I said, wow, if that's the way we're going, maybe it's time to bring back the guillotine. And I got perma-banned from Twitter for suggesting that the guillotine might be an answer to some of the excesses of the very, very rich we have. I thought it was a joke. I had people laugh at it. But nope, you cannot joke at the expense of rich people on Twitter. I gotta say, I love me some Martin Scorsese movies. Even like things that go on way too long, like The Irishman or Killing a Flower Moon. Even things that go on too long, you can see the love of cinema in everything he frames. I don't think he's made a great movie since Silence. He's made good movies since, but he hasn't made a great movie since Silence. And I'm a lapsed Catholic, so maybe I'm going to be more forgiving of it. But Scorsese talking about film, oh my God, I would love it. They must have done it and I missed it. But I would love it if someone just did like a 10 to 300 part documentary of just Scorsese talking about all the movies he loves. Like just do the Scorsese collection of his 100 favorite movies with like 20 minutes talking about it beforehand, an optional audio track of him talking about the movie as you watch the movie, and then like, I don't know, 2-3 hours of him talking about the movie and all the people involved in the movie after that you could watch as its own movie. I would buy that, subscribe to that, whatever, in a freaking heartbeat. I can't think of anyone, maybe Guillermo del Toro. I think maybe Guillermo del Toro is the only person who I see having the same out of control exuberance talking about other people's movies. And I know like Edgar Wright is great. Oh, I just knocked my pens and my glasses off here. I know how much they love. I'm just going to move the camera down a bit while I do this. Yeah, Criterion. Yeah. Oh, I never heard of that. I'm going to check out the De Palma thing. Absolutely. Yeah, Criterion Marty. Like a subset of Criterion, or they just re-release it, but all of them have been Scorsese'd. I would. Although I gotta say, it's terrible. It's an absolutely terrible commentary track, but I love it. It's John Milius and Arnold Schwarzenegger doing their commentary on Conan, and they're both drunk. And it's not good commentary, but it's just so entertaining as they shoot the shit while they're watching a movie and they barely remember what was happening. Oh, okay. I'd watch a Kubrick. Kubrick's an odd duck for me. I find. Okay, I think I'm speaking more to Frankie here. So there's that whole bourgeois, hyper-realistic Orientalism movement in realist art in France. I think in the 1800s. And it's hyper-realistic, incredibly formal in its approach to color, palettes, composition, everything. and it's almost perfection in painting when people mastered it. I felt Kubrick was that. Occasionally he'd get through his exhausting process of shooting and shooting and shooting. Occasionally he'd get an incredible performance out of some actors. But I felt he wasn't going for actors' performance is very much really getting the visuals to tell the story in complete form. It's almost like his movies are the live action version of his storyboards. You know, I've never seen the commentary. Big Trouble is one of my favorites. Okay, now I want to see it. Yes, absolutely. Fincher is, and the fact. So I did watch. I think I watched. It was either a documentary, an extended making of features, either attached to Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or his work on the Netflix detective series about serial killers, development of serial killer department, where he shoots multiple times, whereas Kubrick would shoot and shoot and shoot again because of technology. And he would shoot until he feels he had enough shots to shoot from to get the best. Whereas Fincher, he shoots and he saves everything. He says, you know what, this background tick that Robert Downey Jr. does in this one scene is impeccable, but it doesn't sit with everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pop it into this shot, and I'm going to reassemble it. I'm going to move this figure over a little bit, and it's this weird, like, it's almost like he's doing cinematic collage after he's filmed everything, where it's like, yes, it's all the same performances, it's all the same camera work, but he digitally moves stuff around. Oh, hello. Oh god, I can't read that on my laptop from that far away. Axolotl? All right, cool. Fincher, oh my god, The Killer was so good. Weirdly enough, I think a lot of his diehard Fincher fans bailed after his biopic of Gary Oldman movie, shot in black and white. I think somehow Fincher turned off his fan base. I watched it 3 times. I really think, and I said this when I saw it, I said, Fassbinder's narration about what he's going through as he's prepping to kill someone is so much what every creative is doing as they're executing their work. There is this inner dialogue that is just slightly off nose, where you're aware and thinking about what you're doing, but you're also aware and thinking about what's outside of what you're doing. And yes, Mank. Oh god, I was gonna call him Mensch. Good thing I kept my mouth shut. Yeah, I think The Killer was an absolute return to form, and I have a feeling if it got like a big deal theatrical release ahead of going out on Netflix, it would have hit harder. And the other director who I feel, I think he's been Finchered. I almost said Bogdanovich. I mean, the guy directed The Nick and Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and alone in my own head, I'd think about it in like 15 minutes. He's another like really great director, and I think his love of storytelling is what's hurt him in a certain amount. Soderbergh, yes. Frankie, I gotta say, I really hope you show up more often because you immediately fill in all the holes my old man brain is creating on me. Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I watch it at least once a year. It is probably the best performances any of those actors have ever been allowed to give. and I still have a crush on Laura San Giacomo from that movie. Oh my God, she's hot. But but it was just I miss that era of film. Yeah. So okay. So last I saw, you'd finished your last treatment, but I haven't seen an update on anything since. Are they still waiting to give you result? Feel free to say you don't want to talk about it here. I'm just like, I'm old man concerned stuff happening here. I want to know everyone's doing well and being good. And let me know if you want another What's Michael anytime. I'll send you one. Oh, you know what? I hate to say it. I think you told me that you would find out on the 18th, and it just fell out of my head. Okay. My fingers and my toes are crossed for you. All crossed up. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm rooting for you 110%. I wonder, can you actually put a link to your website? I'm sure a lot of people here would love to see your paintings. Frankie, I mean, not only does she work in Hollywood, she is an amazing painter. Big fan of her work. Especially her little like film stills. At some point, I'm going to have the spare cash in my budget to go. Oh, give me that. I'll take that one because so many of the ones that you've done that I just fell in love with are immediately gone, of course, because everyone loves the favorites. So I think it's subtle, but there's a slightly bit more masculinity in the line work here. Although I dropped the eye here a bit. Can you see? Oh, that's way off camera now. There we go. Anytime, Frankie. Anytime at all. I'll square off the chin just a little bit. And I'm drawing with the 005 again. How are we doing time-wise? I do have to go back and do some more Conan corrections and work on Second Coming tonight. I think what I'm going to do is I'll finish inking this Desire's torso and then call it. So I should be able to get there by 8:30. I find that a lot of people don't check out my longer videos after they're live, which I understand. I mean, it's a commitment. So I really should be trying to keep them to an hour, but I really enjoy the people showing up here and chatting with you guys about the work as I do it. And of course, I'll finish this one before next week. It gives me a little more time to figure out like what the hell I'm going to do with the trousers. I think if you can see it here, you can see that very empty space here in the trousers over here, and I'm filling up the space a little bit more over here. If you can see the blue, so Yes, that's great for American fiction. That's good. That's good. That's worth running along right there. See, the weird thing is, okay, so I think because of when it came out in the 90s, the immediately just the cultural awareness. No matter how progressive you were, you assumed that anyone who's androgynous was inherently femme, and so desire being femme, androgynous in that way, they still shave their armpits. There's a part of me that kind of wants to put a little bit of body hair, but then that would immediately skew too much away from the androgyny, because I still think this is a somewhat androgynous female facing, and this is going to be very androgynous male facing. So that's where I'm going with this. I want to show the same respect that Neil is showing trans people now by changing some of the language and how the descriptors are getting used for the characters, considering how far we've come along in terms of our culture. I want to be able to embrace that too. I think that's important. I'm going to give them slightly thicker suspenders too, because I think generally that would help too with that type of aspect. That is great. I might celebrate by watching it again this week, but I think this week is going to be me prepping for Dune. I went back and rewatched the first Dune again this week, just because I wanted to see if I don't want to like overwhelm myself, because I probably see it like 4 or 5 times on the big screen, because nothing beats seeing movies on the big screen. But rewatching Dune, yeah, I'm also really happy. Rewatching Dune was a really interesting experience, and seeing that how well Villeneuve set up Zendaya as Chani to give her more interesting things to do with the plot and character development. It was all there. Same with Stilgar, and I think what Villeneuve did with Stilgar is some of the best character work over 2 movies that you could have seen. He went from being kind of like a put-offish desert person in the Lawrence of Arabia mode, like humorless and gruff, and then he became this charming, almost childlike wannabe father figure for Paul. But then at the very last, as Paul sends him off planet, he turns into the most terrifying jihadist you could ever see. You just know, because you spend all this time getting to know and love Stilgar, and know what he would do for Paul and for his siege and everything. And then suddenly Paul unleashes him, and he is going to fight to the death for Lisan al-Gaib. And yeah, I just, oh my God, Villeneuve just made 2 perfect science fiction movies. I'm almost hoping that somewhere along the line, someone says, why don't we just cut them into one movie with a matinee and release it that way, like a nice 6-hour movie trip. You go there, you watch the first movie, there's a nice little half-hour matinee, you grab some lunch, nice little drink, a lot of water. And then you go back in and enjoy the second half. I'd do that. I was talking to my son, he needs more time. The movies both overwhelmed him so much. He knows full well he can't watch them back to back. I could do it. I'm an old man. I'm tough. Plus, my memory is obviously so full of holes, I'll forget part of the first movie by the time I watch the second one half an hour later. Okay. I saw that, and I had a moment of thinking about that. They weren't burning bodies; they were burning Harkonnen. There were so many bodies. You absolutely know they were going to recover the water from all the Fremen, and they might even the description of Harkonnen so full of poison that the water can't be saved. And in fact, they talked about it, like how they weren't collecting all the water of the Harkonnen in the initial ambush, which again, I think is possibly, you think about how many times people will start a movie and they don't think about, well, that was covered in the last movie, so we don't have to do it. How elegantly Villeneuve in that opening sequence, after you move from Ireland to, like, Paul and his mother lying on the hill in the desert, um, how elegantly it showed the relationship between the Fremen and Paul and Rebecca Ferguson, and how the Fremen went off to do what they do because they don't know what Paul and Jessica can do. And then suddenly it's just, oh my God, it's just so well done. I'm gonna squee in a bit. I'm gonna go squee, dude. Still good enough. They were, I think, and I had this thought, and it's not in the movie, but I had this thought. It's the way how and I know this is in China, it might be in Japan as well. There's drinking water, then there's gray water. I had this gut feeling they were saving Harkonnen water for things that require water, but that doesn't have to be that clean. It doesn't have to be drinkable. Yeah, that was so good. Oh my God. Even when, God, I hope we're not spoiling for people who haven't seen Dune yet. Even when he's talking to Chani and he says, I will love you until my last breath. And because I read the books like a long time ago, I can't read them now. I tried, I couldn't. But beautiful, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous new hardcover edition of Dune. And I started reading it, and I went, I'm not 16 anymore. I can't put up with prose like that. But even when he says to Chani, I'll love you until my last breath, and I'm like, oh my God, he knows what's coming. He's already there. He's been around the spice long enough that he knows what's inevitable, even though he's loudly protesting too much about not wanting to do it because he knows what it'll do to him, but he knows it's going to happen. So there's almost a cruelty to Paul at that point, even when he's letting himself fall in love with Chani, because he knows he's going to fall. The weird thing is, it's kind of like one of those catch-22s. He knows he's going to fall in love with Chani, so he lets himself fall in love with Chani. But because he knows what's coming, he knows what to say to her, so he doesn't ever lie to her, even as he knows he's going to hurt her. God, yeah, I want to see it again. And I really think Chalamet actually improved between movies. I know it's the same character and everything, and wasn't that much of a space between them, but he just seemed to have understood the character better. Maybe he had more talks with Denny. But everything was so good. And a friend of mine told me, and I think you might be, just spreading wishful thinking rumors at this point, even though Duncan Idaho doesn't show up until I think the fourth book, they might show Duncan Idaho in the third Dune movie that Villeneuve makes, because just to show, I think he wants to tip his hand to where things go after Dune Messiah, because he's done then. But I think he wants to show it. Yeah, you're right. Okay, it's children to do. Okay, I keep on because he cut the movie into 2 bits. My timing's all messed up. Yeah, it's such a good movie. Why did I think he showed up in the fourth? Oh, in the fourth one, that's when you're getting like infinite Duncan Idahos. I think, if I remember correctly now. I could be wrong there as well. I'm going to pull this, opening the zipper out forward here a bit. Do I want to show dick root? That's, oh my God, first time I heard dick root. Have you guys heard the phrase dick root before? It's like when someone's like, they push their pants so low at the front, you can just see, you can't see their entire penis, but you can see where it kind of starts emerging from the lower abdomen at the top of the pelvis there. And so it's always showing his dick root. And I never heard that before. And oh my God, I laughed so hard. I think I laughed for close to like 10 minutes after hearing dick root for the first time. Just to show how classy I am, I figured, in my very important, art live stream, I'm going to talk about dick root. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my God. Fourth book is where I tapped out though. I read Dune. I think I was 14, 15, read Dune, loved it, read it again immediately after finishing it. Because I knew I loved it too much. I was like reading too fast. So I read it again and I immediately dived into Children. I think Messiah is the third one and God Emperor is the fourth. I could be misremembering. And reading the fourth book, I realized he had left what interested me in, what attracted me in terms of like, oh my God, this is an anti-hero as the protagonist. I found something so incredible about a narrative that presented at the time in the 80s, Arabs were the de facto bad guy. If it wasn't Russians, it was Arabs as the bad guy. So I'm reading a science fiction where you have the whole colonial machinations laid bare. And we're following this very sympathetic young man who's a manufactured messiah. And that was so incredible to me. And by the time the fourth book rolled around, it was about so much else. It was about, environment building culture and culture changing people, and how people of a culture and an environment change the world. Because I mean, it became too ephemeral and too outside of my primary interest in character interaction and humanity. So yeah, that's why I tapped out. I have no doubt they were good and worth reading, but it was just not for me at that point. Weirdly enough, I think it was because of how much I liked the first couple of Dune books that I fell in love with Carl Edward Wagner's Kane. He is he's like if you mixed Conan and Elric, and then decided he's the villain, but I'm not going to write it like he's the villain. I'm going to write it like he's the protagonist, but he's very much the villain of every story he's in. Oh God, that's right. That's right. And so for some reason I thought Paul just kind of wandered off. My memory is so vague, especially in the later books, because I only read those once. I remember like Paul just disappearing into the desert. And I thought that was the end of him, but in my memory. But now I remember him being that preacher, kind of like Lancelot in Excalibur, who shows up preaching against the knights and knighthood because he failed and he couldn't handle it. Okay, so my memory wasn't totally faulty there. Shit, we're at 8:30. I am almost done the torso as promised. No dick root yet. I'll be sure to include the dick root for next week. I want to thank everyone for showing up and chatting. I love the chat tonight. The chat tonight was great. You're something through the books, cheater. I guess, Frankie, you weren't able to put a link. I don't think you can put links in chat here, but I think you can put a link in the comment, even if it doesn't like hot link. And then what I'll do is I'll edit and I'll put it into the description. I think I put links in there. So I really think everyone deserves to see how good your work is. So this week for me is the last of the corrections on Savage Sword. Working on Second Coming layouts. I'm still punching about with the cover. I'm still working on the last bits of production for Coven. Oh, my weeks are so full. Things lighten up the week after, but just new stuff comes in. But next week, I believe this week's designer. I think next week is Delirium. I haven't drawn Delirium for a few years. She is always a delight to draw. And I am looking forward to figuring out what the hell I'm going to do with her next week. I'm definitely not going to be drawing Dick with Delirium. But I want you all to have an amazing week. I want nothing but good things to happen to all of you. I hope everyone you wanted to win an Oscar tonight wins an Oscar tonight. And I'll see you around online if I see you. Otherwise, 7 days, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. Good night, everybody.